And I wrote the affidavits in Spanish, but the native speakers in my office fixed my grammar and the way it needs to be written, and set up the warrants on to hit 16 houses simultaneously in both Tijuana and Chihuahua. I brought in 120 of the national SWAT team, all the shooters in. Part went into Juarez, part went into Chihuahua, brought them in on buses. And then I brought all the guns from the United States were flown in south in my armored Suburban and 3 armored Suburbans. And then we hit all houses simultaneously. We missed Salguero on that one. We got them later. But we got unauthorized listening posts Mexican traffickers were doing to monitor on everybody. We got a whole bunch of money. Took down, it was like out of the movie Sicario. I mean, just banging doors, and we're all running around with balaclavas on and getting it done. So we did the 16, I forget how many, but we arrested like 4 other people or 6 that had warrants, 3 to 6, I can't remember. We just missed the main guy who was Chapo's lieutenant. And we got, like I said, an unauthorized listening post. They would intercept all phone traffic in an area, get tapes, and then they go steal the drugs from them or kill them of opposing groups. Finish that tour, the team gets disbanded. I do regular Border Patrol work for the next 6 months. So I think it was about June, I get hired by DEA and turn in my stuff on Monday and spend into June, 1st of July. Let's begin again, 1st of July. And I go to the DEA Academy in Quantico.
Okay, so let's start talking about the DEA career. Before you do, why did you decide to stop Border Patrol and go over to DEA?
I'd probably, if there'd been any wars or anything, I would have probably gone in the military and tried to go to Special Forces. Getting in shape was never a problem. I ski raced nationally and NORAM races some internationally, so that was a problem. But there's nothing going on then. And so I remember sitting with my buddy one night. We were doing typical Border Patrol operations. It's about 3 years before. He says, "Don't tell anybody, I just put in for DEA." I go, "Really?" I knew what they did, but I didn't have a clue as how to get there. I go, "Yeah." I go, "How'd you do it?" And he goes, "Well, I got the paperwork and called DEA and filled it out, put it in." And so he ended up going to DEA about 2-3 years before me. So I put in that same week. Took me 3.5 years to get hired by DEA, because DEA, as you know, are retards. And because they lost the paperwork 3 times, not the paperwork, my fingerprints. So I had to do that, get fingerprinted 3 times. And finally, after 3.5 years, I got hired. And they said, "All right, you go to the academy."
What year is this?
This is 1989.
Okay, 1989.
So I was a Border Patrol agent from 84 to 89.
So tell me the difference between FLETC and Quantico DEA Academy.
Well, so I do the usual 2 weeks of processing in San Diego, but as you know, DEA doesn't tell you where you're going to go. I think they're now starting to a little bit, but it's a guess. And if you're one of the top students, they try to take care of you. And if you're the #1 student, you get to pick your station. I think they still do that. FBI, I think, is like the top 3 get to, but of course DEA couldn't do anything that would help anybody. And so I show up at the academy, and they're doing everything. And remember, I'd just been in an academy with just been in gunfights. So I'm looking around, going, okay. And the average age of a DEA agent being hired is 31. I had just turned from 30 to 31. And I think it was 70% of DEA who hires for part of law enforcement were military. So okay. So I'm looking around watching, and I'm going through the DEA Academy and get, your little black pants, remember, and the little shirt, and you're not allowed to use the elevator, and they put you up like 7 stories. You're up and down the goddamn stairs all day long, just things to screw with you. So I forget what so we're probably at about, we went through driving school, and DEA just started a driving school course. And now they got what they call the T-Bach and all that other stuff. But so the driving school compared to FLETC was a nice attempt, but not as good as FLETC's Border Patrol's driving school. And I'm well versed in vehicle stops. Did hundreds, thousands of them. I've probably been in, I don't know, 500 high-speed chases. Couldn't even tell you. And so I'm looking at this, and I learned real quick, keep your mouth shut. I kept my mouth shut the whole way through. Only had to write one memo for a bad sense of humor, the whole academy. And they were waiting to get me on something. And so they'd look at me and they go, because I didn't fit in. I'm not real tall. I'm a whopping 5'8". And so I'm sitting there, and I remember first thing we were doing defensive tactics one day. And I'm moving quicker than this other guy. That wouldn't work with me. I said, oh, really? Got several black belts and had my own school for a while. I go, really? And all of a sudden he tries to move, and I counter, and then he countered, and I countered. The counter came up on top and did a punch, but pulled it last second. That wouldn't have worked. Smile. And he was a jiu-jitsu, or I think he was a jiu-jitsu roller, maybe mid-level, a couple of years, I could tell. So I listen and goes, that guy's trained before. He goes, yeah. He goes, he had me. So I smiled, kept my mouth shut. No, don't bring attention to yourself. I remember we were going through raid school. You know this, but for anybody who doesn't, you've got Hogan's Alley there. And he's going through the room, doing room clearing over and over. But before it started, this is the first day for room clearing at Hogan's Alley, sitting there, and DEA tactical training brought over an HRT guy, FBI's HRT. And so they're sitting there talking, and what would you do this? All of a sudden they throw a flashbang in amongst everybody. Everybody takes off running, but me and one other guy. And I just turn, boom, take it on the back, sit there. All right, what'd you do beforehand? How come you know about flashbangs? Been banged a lot. I explained what we did. Oh, so you were on that team. Because we were pretty famous for all the gunfights. I mean, we'd be in the news regularly when I was on Border Patrol with all the gunfights we were getting in. So long story short, driving academy was easy. The shooting was easy. Shot for the Possible Club. I shot the perfect score the first time. Second time I threw 2 rounds. Remember, you got to do it twice. So I was like, for those who don't know, DEA for the Possible Club, you have to shoot a perfect score. And they only let the top shooters do it. I had a lot of trouble with the academy because all the shooting I did on the tactical team, it was a group like this all the time from about 15 in. Well, they wouldn't count the holes if you shot a hole out. So you'd have to move bullets around. That was the hardest thing to do, to shoot. Shoot, okay, a couple ahead, couple inside the cue, the bowling pin, a couple over here, a couple over, so they could count them. And I still would screw up, and so, with the 7, the 10, that's like, it's really hard. So I remember just sitting there going through that, but the Possible Club. So I remember the first one: run from the 60 to 50, shoot your 5 rounds, then run from the 50 to 25 and shoot all in time. Well, most people go, you had to run to it? Because most police departments only shoot to 15, a few 25. DEA and FBI and Border Patrol are the only ones who shoot from 50s. So I shot the first time. Second time, I threw 2 rounds. Of course, being the outstanding person I am, and having not been home, I was under a lot of stress going through a divorce. Because the day I went to the DEA Academy, my wife moved her boyfriend in that I didn't know she had. She's such a lovely person. And so I'm dealing with that and the stress of it. And so I guess even to get the chance to shoot once was a good thing. But that was the academy was the academy. I mean,
did you say, was there anything that you thought one of the academies did better than the others? Obviously driving, you thought FLETC did better, but was there any?
Well, Border Patrol teaches basic pistol marksmanship much better than DEA. DEA is not designed to teach you to shoot. You better know how to shoot when you get there because it's much faster. We'd just been issued the SMGs, So shooting full auto with SMG, nonstop, the shotgun. I was one of the top shooters, but it was easy for me. But I saw people come in who'd never shot before. They're having a real hard time. I do remember one funny one. This is where I got in trouble. So we were doing vehicle stops all day long. I'd done hundreds of them. Well, we had a guy who'd been a diversion investigator, and he's trying to be an agent. And this was his last day because he's always on the margin of not passing. They do a vehicle stop, and he's used to, as you know, practicing vehicle stops. 1,000 times it's a high-risk one. Well, they tell the guy, we're all working with simunition. He takes off running. And because he took off running, the trainee shot him in the back. And so they're doing the after-action report debrief. And they ask him, the guy who took off running got shot in the back, who shot you? Well, how's he going to know that? He doesn't have eyes in the back of his head. Shot in the back. Trainee Roberts, write me a report. Why do you think it's funny? Your partner got shot and killed by his other partner. It's like, yeah, fuck. So I had to write the report. The instructor said, you realize we've been waiting to get you the whole academy. You're the only guy that's not had to write a memo yet. It's because I kept my mouth shut, which for me is really hard to do. And so my humor caused me to write a report. So,
Larry, I asked a couple other DEA guys that by the time that your video gets released, what did you think about the difference between the DEA training and the FBI training? Because we're at the same place.
Well, FBI is a gentleman's club. DEA, you got to remember, in the late 80s, I was BA, 65? Yeah, 65. DEA, the cocaine era was just full peak down in South Florida. There were a lot of gunfights then, the whole bit. So FBI looked at DEA as a bunch of cowboys. It's much harder to be a DEA agent than an FBI agent. The FBI asks, have you ever used any drugs? And you have to list them. FBI asks, in the last 10 years, have you used any drugs? Well, it's a lot easier if you're 35 coming over to pass it than 25 and the words, have you ever, versus in the last 10 years. We go to the range and shoot. FBI were allowed to lay out on carpets on the ground so they didn't get their little khaki, what was it, brown khaki pants? Yes, it was so gay. Their brown khaki pants dirty. And DEA, you had to go lay in the mud. Now their firearms course is the same, and they have good shots, but you have to remember the difference. Average age of a DEA agent is 31 years old, 70% prior law enforcement. I think FBI average age is about 26 to 28. And at that time, 50 to 70% of FBI agents are attorneys or accountants. Since the GWOT, Global War on Terror, in 2001, they started hiring more ex-military, more ex-police officers, but they never wanted that. And that's probably the biggest drawback to FBI is attorneys are running it, and it's attorneys that are hired versus old street cops. And so that's probably the biggest difference. I mean, let's face it, DEA paid for the Jefferson building. I don't know if you knew that. And the minute it was built, FBI said it's on our property, so we're taking it now. They tried that when DEA built the new academy. What was that, 2000, somewhere around there? They go, oh, can we use it? No. You're not even going to get to touch this. We're DEA now. Same base, Quantico is FBI, but DEA has everything separate. The only thing they share is the racetrack and the shooting range.
Right.
And so, but, let's face it. I mean, they spend what? A 2-hour class on just how to practice showing their credentials. I mean, mine would be, my badge comes out, it flaps open, it hits you right between the eyes, and you've got the U.S. tattooed in your forehead for the rest of your life. I mean, not to say I've ever done that, but.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about your career. So with DEA, you graduated out of the academy, and then as I don't know, maybe as luck would have it, I don't know what you think, but you're back in San Ysidro. You're basically back in
Oh
San
God,
Diego. And
yes.
so what'd you think? Were you happy to go back or
Well,
no?
I lucked out because of my divorce and everything, and seeing my son and blah blah blah. So I ended up in San Diego, actually San Ysidro, California, in Operation Alliance, which was a DEA, U.S. Customs integrated narcotics task force. And how is that different from anything else? Well, you're just there to work together. Where I was a supervisor of the DEA task forces in a couple other cities where DEA pays for it. You've all got cross-sworn. This one, you work together and we did everything and for asset sharing between the two agencies. So,
and what were the two agencies?
Customs and DEA.
Okay, Customs.
But we had one ATF agent, we had one Border Patrol agent.
So pretty good mix.
And one or two San Diego cops and one B&E state agent. And for a while, we had one FBI agent. One of the nicer, better FBI agents I ever worked with. He was on FBI SWAT, local SWAT. And 89, we responded until DEA got a stupid idea, which only they could come up with, giving Customs joint authority at all the ports to take over doing all the port cases. When I went there in 89, every case was done by DEA and prosecuted by DEA and under DEA paperwork up until October 1990.
So what kind of cases were you working on at San Ysidro?
Everything. You could start, because integrated task force, we do money laundering, we do gun cases, we do vehicle thefts. We did the second ever, wasn't my case, I just was one of the helping agents, second ever fentanyl labs ever in the U.S. The first one was out of Kansas where they're making fentanyl in a old missile silo. And this one was there. I helped out on that. That was an interesting case because the guy who was making it, this is actually one of the funnier cases around. So they're targeting a guy, who later became my partner, was the undercover, little Filipino guy who spoke fluent Spanish. And he was maybe 5'5" and 90 pounds. And nobody ever took him as an agent. I mean, he was big as my finger. So he's negotiating to buy fentanyl from this guy. And we're recording all of it, and they're talking in Spanish. And long story short, he originally started making fentanyl. He had 6 other partners. Over the years, all of his partners died making fentanyl from the fumes. When he started cooking fentanyl, he would put parakeets throughout the lab and start making it. So they're negotiating. We get a free sample, have it checked. Yes, pure fentanyl. And to let you know, fentanyl, when it's manufactured pure, in order to sell it, if you just inhale it, you die. Even when it's cut, it has to be cut 86 times to be sold on the street as pure. And still smelling it, you'll die. A 1 dosage unit of fentanyl is equal to 1 microdot, which is the same size as 1 grain of salt. So they're negotiating. We get the first part. And we're talking to the DEA lab group. At that time, I wasn't lab certified. I became lab certified later. And we're explaining it to them. They go, we don't want to do that. When you get ready, no. They're told you have to. Because let's face it, you get 1 drop on you, you die. So you put on the white little suits with all the stuff on. And so they're talking about it. We're getting ready. But before we do it, we did another buy. So the undercover and informant are meeting the trafficker, and they're going to buy some fentanyl that night. It's $10,000 worth. Well, so Tony puts the $10,000 in his coat, and they go to the bathroom, come back out, sit down, and the chemist comes, and Tony goes, reach in, hand him $10,000. It's not there. Oh shit! So he and the foreman go run in the bathroom. There's a guy taking a leak in there. They're bouncing against the wall. He doesn't say he's a DE agent. Bounce against the wall. It's on the wire. We're hearing it. Where's the money? I know you've got the money. Where's the money? Oh my God. Where's the money? Bouncing them around. And so, no money. They search him. No money bathroom. He goes down and sits with the trafficker. He's literally crying, not faking it. you don't understand. My boss is going to kill me. And he's crying. It's okay. Just tell him, I can't lie to him. You don't understand. And he is just crying. And so this is going on. And all of a sudden, the boss calls everybody in the meet finishes. We got to find the $10,000. We search Tony. We search his car. We go back, search his desk, everywhere. Can't find the money. Lost $10,000. Even the trafficker's feeling sorry for him. I'll lie to your boss for you. You don't understand. It's DEA money. It's buy money. So one of the cops, detective assigned to work with us, decides to call into 911, call dispatch and say, listen, we're doing an undercover deal. We lost $10,000. Really? Just to let you know, put it out there. Well, it just so happens this illegal alien, to go to work, all he had was his bicycle, finds the $10,000 on the street where we met at, takes it to his Catholic priest and says, I think this is drug money. How right he was. It was. Turns it in to San Diego police, calls 911. We get our $10,000 back. So the boss went through and did a whole write-up, helped that illegal alien get a temporary resident alien card to then turn into a resident alien card. I think we gave him a couple $1,000 reward. I don't know how much, because I know there wasn't mine. I was just helping out the case, but paid him money for doing it, so he didn't have to have his bicycle forever. Because isn't that really the kind of guy you want in the United States? So that was my beginning time with DEA, and it was, we'd be across doing surveillances in Mexico with our guns, with the Mex feds. I mean, we'd be smuggling cocaine across, marijuana every day across the border, deliver it to people, tell them we had corrupt inspectors, load after load after load. I did probably 90 or 91, probably 90. I did my first undercover case was started out for 1,000 pounds of weed. In the end, we did the meets on the U.S. Customs undercover boat. I won't tell you what kind it is. They probably still have it. But it was worth several $1 million, all wired for sound. We did all the meets. And these guys were clear up at Stockton. So they drive all the way down and do the meet. Didn't happen. Go back. Finally, one day they go, okay, here. He brings a paper shopping bag, big ones like this, full of bud, all the way full, just held together with a couple like staples at the top. He goes, here's your sample. Take what you want. Thanks. Took the whole bag. The whole bag. Didn't know what to say. And so as I was working undercover with him, it was all in Spanish. I said, listen, I speak with an accent because my dad's Mexican, my mom's white, or vice versa. I can't remember what it was, but just half breed. And so no problem. And we were going back and forth. I said, fuck you, I'm tired of your shit. I'm not doing a deal with you. And leaves, I got the pound of marijuana. Drives all the way back. I think it was Turlock, right up by Stockton. Gets all the way home. And that's a long drive. I go, what are you doing up there? He gets there. He goes, I thought we were doing the deal. Doing the deal? I'm just tired of you guys screwing around now. Get down here and bring me some weed. Okay, so he drives back 664 pounds of weed. 6 guys. He's telling me undercover he just got out of state prison. Just gotten out. And he goes, I can't go back. So they deliver the 660 some pounds. I give the bus signal. They arrest me and my informant. And they all go to jail. Well, they thought I was arrested with them. So the next day they go to arraignment. I'd already got my informant moved out of his house, gave him enough money to go to another part of town. And they all look in the back of the room. And all my buddies were U.S Marshals in the court, and they're looking. And they're going, what are you doing here? How come you back here? Because they're all there. Take out my badge. I go, shh. And the judge smiles. The U.S Marshal smiles. The USA and the defense didn't see me. They all pled guilty. I think he got 10 or 20 years. They all pled right there. And that was typical DEA day. I'd go buy kilos of heroin, and I think the least amount of heroin I ever bought was 10 ounces, but generally half a key to heroin, black tar, regularly. I did a couple of coke deals. I bought coke, bought meth. I think, let's see, about 25 pounds. I was negotiating for the meth for 25 pounds, but one of the bad guys didn't like me, so I pulled out. We went up to Vegas to do the deal. And there's a bad guy and his brother or cousin who's his bodyguard carrying a gun. And so I had my trainee doing it, just teaching him. So that'd be a few years later. You know, I was a training officer. So we're up there, and the guy who didn't like me my bad. We were a little too far away. As we did the arrest, he was the security, the one bad guy, takes a gun out. Just hair slow dropping him right there. He takes a gun and throws it back to the pickup to get it off him. He almost got killed. Thank God I didn't want to get in another shooting because I'd still had the 3 shootings I was dealing with, all the ramifications from it. And so that was kind of the typical day. I mean, did that regularly. I started, I was a case agent on 4 tons of cocaine that came across with customs, which later became ICE. Helped on, it was a co-case agent, but it got too boring. It was all tied to Chapo. I also would go with my boss over to Mexico and deal with the Mexicans regularly.
So let's talk about that, Larry. So because you I think it's fair to say you had a pretty storied career, right? So you're in so you're in San Yisidro, you go to then San Diego, you do interdiction work, then you go to the Tijuana resident office, then at some point you're the rack in Ciudad Juarez. You're in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I mean, you're basically bouncing around, and you're doing some major cases. So I wanted to talk with you a little bit about working in Mexico, because I've talked to a couple DEA guys that are in Southeast Asia and they're working Thailand, stuff like that. So I wanted to get your take on how Mexico was. So in particular, so let's start off with, well, you talk about either Tijuana or Juarez. First of all, as a DEA guy in Mexico, did you get to carry a gun? Okay.
I just saying, yeah, you can read between the lines. I'll go back one before we get to Tijuana because it delves into it. So I'd done a bunch of big cases. I did one case on, I think we got a $50 million criminal asset forfeiture judgment on him, moving tens of thousands of pounds of weed. So I moved from that case. Then I started a case against Güero Palma, Chapo Guzman's partner. When I say partner, they were partners. Be like you and I, 2 DE agents, worked the same cases. We had our own cases, but we'd work joint cases together. So I worked that full time, and I was working it hard. And all of a sudden, March to June of 92 or 93. So while I was working the Güero Palma case, I'd already smuggled, I think, 400 keys of coke in the United States for his organization, put it up in LA, had LA up on wires on it.
And sorry to interrupt you, but just so the audience knows, when we're talking about partners, Jesus Palma and El Chapo, we're talking about the El Chapo.
Yeah, Joaquin Guzman Lawyer.
Okay. Yeah.
So delivering cocaine up there to a guy named Jose Ruiz Sandoval, I think his name. Anyway, he was Chapo's uncle. So we ended up taking him off. He got life in prison. Another guy, which would be Chapo's second cousin, first cousin, he got 25 years. So I'm doing all that. And then what happens is March to June of 93, where Chapo Guzman and the Ariano Felixes are fighting. The Ariano Felix organization is Tijuana's large cartel there. They're fighting. Even with Border Patrol, I dealt with some gunfights that had left some dead people in the street. So, which is a whole another story. But so that's going, and what happens is they kill the Catholic cardinal. Chapo, the Ariano Felix send their team of assassins down to Guadalajara. They have info Chapo's there. And they're trying to find him. Chapo had informants into the Arianos. Arianos had informants into Chapo, believe it or not. So they got like 20, 30 dudes there. They all got body armor, armored cars, pickups, gas masks, grenades, the whole bit. Well, they get info. Chapo's going to Guadalajara Airport, set up surveillance. And Chapo pulls up in his Buick, Oldsmobile Cutlass or Buick Regal. They're the same, just 2 different names. Armor pulls up, got his driver with him. And by accident or purpose, nobody ever knows. I got guys that make a lot of claims, but anyway, Juan Ocampo Posadas, the cardinal, Catholic cardinal, pulls up in a white Lincoln Marquis with his priest driving. They start shooting up the Chapo. Just the Cardinal pulls up. They think Chapo's also in the white car. They end up killing a couple innocent civilians, family and their kids on the street, kill a couple of Chapo's bodyguards. Then they come up to the white Grand Marquis, blacked out windows, the Cardinal's in, shoot right through the windows, kill the priest, and kill the Cardinal. As right after that happens, all the Ariano Felix people run out of Guadalajara, come back to Tijuana. And then it's full game on against the AFO. So my boss goes that next day, Larry, I got all this from the Mex Feds. Here's some of the people wanted. Here's the photos. Well, it just so happened I had a source that knew one of the killers. It had been staying at his house, but we didn't know. My informant did not know where the bad guy was, where he lived, somewhere in Chula Vista. And so we're sitting there. So the informants talk to this bad guy who's got one of the killers living with him. And finally, the guy goes, yeah. He goes, he never would tell him whether, he goes, yeah, but marshals came over looking for this other guy to my house last night, a Japanese-looking guy, Chinese-looking U.S. Marshal. And he wasn't there, thank God, because we were worried, he's going to find the weed I had in my house a whole bit. Oh, I know him. That's Ralph. So, hey, Ralph, what's up? First words are, hey, dummy, what do you want? Dude, 3 nights ago, you were at a house knocking on the door looking for me. Yeah, I know that guy. One of the assassins killed the Cardinals there. Really? I go, let's go. And so I didn't tell my boss because I told him earlier, I said, I can get one of those. I'll bet you I have one. Didn't tell him I knew why. Found it. So went there, knock on the door. I got the photo. Manuel Mendoza Castillo. Remember the name well. Sitting there, photo. And we go, what's your name? I forget. He said his name was something else. Thing. And so we got the one guy that was sitting there. So we're looking, and so I called my boss up. Hey, Joe. Yeah. I go, I got one of the shooters. No, you don't. Yes, I do. No, you don't. Yes, I do. No, you don't. Then, hey, Joe, how about you go fuck yourself then? I go, I'll just let him go. You better not. So he comes over, and he's all pissed off, being the typical seasoned grizzly supervisor. You looks, there he is. It is him. No shit, Joe. I've been telling you that. Oh, my God. So quick, we get him to sign all the Border Patrol releases to go back to Mexico. We don't tell him we have a warrant for him. Right? And he's one in Mexico. So I was, oh, okay. So we take him, send him back to Mexico, open the door, put him in, he's like, okay, go where the fuck are the Mex Feds? Comandante comes out, grabs him by the belt, the scuff of the neck. He's airwalking him now. Hook him up. Well, he had a rough 3 days of interviews before they sent him to Mexico City. And he gave up the Ariano Felix zoo and compound out in Tecate, California, where they actually had giraffes. So now, since I talk so much smack, my boss goes, can you get more of them? Oh, yeah. I don't know how I'm going to do it. Get more. So there was actually a group that was investigating the Arianos. I kept arresting their people before they could piss them off. One of the guys who ran it was a buddy of mine, but just always pissed them off because I was arresting those guys. You talk about it or just go do it. So now I'm looking, and I'm looking. And one of the shooters, this guy who was there, killed the Cardinal, he was an gangbanger from the Calle 30, the Red Steps out of San Diego, named David Burham Corona. He'll come up later, but I'd been trying to find him. He did his first no murder in the United States at 14 and was sent to the California Youth Authority, then deported to Mexico, came back. And when I ran into his dead body years later, which I'll get to, that's when I was in Tijuana, every time he killed somebody, he'd have a tattoo of a black skull with red eyes tattooed on his body. When I sat through his autopsy, he had 14 black skulls with red eyes there. But I think he just got tired because he killed more than that. So long story short, now I got to find the rest of the traffickers, the rest of the assassins who killed the Cardinal. So finally, we're looking for one looking. All of a sudden, my U.S. Marshal partner calls me up. Because my boss said, listen, you don't have to come to the office. Whatever schedule you want, we want more of them in jail. So I just out the streets, high-speed chases, chasing Calle 30 gang members, Marcos Quinones and others. I did get him. We thought he was one of the shooters, but he was in a different one. Hooked him up, sent him to Mexico, gave him the comandante, Comandante lumped him up for 3 days. He goes, Larry, I can't keep him. He'll confess to nothing. He tells me to go fuck myself every time I go fucking touch him. So, really. So he goes, I have to let him go. Lets him go. He comes back to the United States illegally again. See him on the street. There he is, fucking eye swollen shut a little bit. Another high-speed chase through town. Of course, never told my boss that, but he gets away. He's like, damn it. So anyway, the U.S. Marshal calls me, hey, dummy. That's what he called me. Okay, I probably gave him reason. Hey, dummy, I just found out that guy's up in just got a brand new driver's license 2 days ago in Lompoc. Let's go. So you got to remember, cell phones weren't big then. I did the big box. So we're probably into 93, 94. We drive all the way to Lompoc. Get with the local police up there. Since we driver's license, we don't have to have a warrant now. Fugitive's in there, just got his license. So we breach the door probably 9 o'clock by the time we get the police there. Well, all Sarah's grandpa and grandma of this girl. Her boyfriend was the gangbanger hiding out up there. Where is he? It's at church. So get out of all the black ninja gear and switch to just a pair of holy jeans, put my body armor on and got a jean jacket. And me and the U.S. Marshal go in. We had the whole church surrounded. Like 6, 8 cops and another DEA agent went with me, case agent on that case. Came in, there he's sitting down. Boom. Knock his girlfriend out one side. The marshal does. I'm on the other side. Take my gun, stick his ribs, tell him Spanish, if you move, I'll fucking kill you right now. Are you carrying? No. I go, DEA U.S. Marshals. Oh, thank God. He thought we were assassins coming to kill him. Search him, nothing out. Take him outside. Prone him out, search him again. The priest comes out. How dare you come into my church, arrest this man, blah, blah, blah. I go, I have a warrant for his arrest in Mexico for the murder of the Catholic cardinal, an innocent family, additional bodyguards, and a priest. I suggest you probably go back into your congregation and pray for the people who killed this guy's soul. He's already, the devil owns him. And we drove all the way back to the extra. He signed off where I could take him out of the judicial district and return from the northern district down to California. My boss, who was a DEA attorney and a minister, well, he was an attorney, but a DEA agent, supervisor, the rack, and a minister, did not find the humor of me arresting this guy in church praying. Larry, what about the sanctity of the church? Well, it didn't work, and I ain't giving him back. So there, he's in jail. He never swore, but I could get him to swear. God damn it, Larry! And shake his little broken finger at me. So that was number 2. Then we got the third guy about a month or 2 later. It's working nonstop, hitting houses, trash runs. Got the third guy in bed, a guy named Tarzan, another gang member. Almost got smoked right there because he reached under the covers, but he was just being a dumbass. But the guy told you David Burham Corona. He had family that lived in San Diego. I do trash runs. I did my last trash run on that case. I swore I'd never do another one. He was paralyzed from a motorcycle accident, which I'd forgotten. So we go through the trash run, to steal his trash. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning. Me and my partner, a San Diego PD detective, got rubber gloves and go through the trash. All of a sudden, this white, yellowish, milky liquid runs all over my hands. It was this colostomy bag had ripped open. And I, at that point, took it off. I'm done. I'm never doing another fucking trash search ever again for my whole life. I don't think I ever did. I just swore I'm never doing it again. And then I actually ran into David when he got killed years later. So that's how what I did in San Diego, a lot of it. I ended up as a supervisor for the airport task force for a while. Did that, took off a couple loads here, a couple loads there. Then I went to Tijuana, advertisement up. So 97, I went there.
So Larry, focusing on Tijuana and then later on when you were in Juarez, did you ever feel any danger while you were in Mexico?
Almost got killed 2, 3, 4 times.
Yeah.
A lot of times. Just how many of those got reported to the boss, because you report that, you're getting evacuated. So yeah, we were evacuated 5 times when I was in Tijuana, maybe 7.
Any concern about corruption?
Yeah, everybody's corrupt. I arrested. Okay, well, so I'll give you the story. So I go to Tijuana. DEA never had an office there. My partner was the little Filipino guy I told you about later. We became partners. So he wasn't real hard on work. All I ever did was undercover. So I did everything. Larry, you work too hard. Well, motherfucker, if you did something, I wouldn't have to work so hard. Larry, I'm 56. I retire in a year. I just came around here to fuck off. No, couldn't tell. Okay. So I ran the streets most of the time by myself. We had a vetted team that had been polygraphed and background assigned to DEA. I'd worked in Tijuana a lot before with my boss, take me over to meet with the Mexicans. We'd have Mexican cops assigned to us. So I had to set up the controlled access area at the consulate in Tijuana, set up the office, do all that. I was the acting rack because the boss who sent there was kicked out of country for basically just being a dumbass, not listening to the boss. I don't have to listen to you. I'm the boss here. Oh, yeah. Well, that went over like a lead balloon. Can you imagine telling your boss that you don't have to listen to him? Yeah, it didn't work. And he found out the hard way. So, and of course, when anything like that happens, OPR gets in. So I couldn't get promoted because the guy who got kicked out and demoted got me under for him just being a dumbass and saying stupid stuff. So I was there out of 4 years and a few months. I was acting rack like 3 of it, but it was nonstop every day. We had the vetted team working with us. We knew one of the comandantes was corrupt. We'd been hearing it from other sources. He passed his polygraph, so I'm dealing with the Deputy Attorney General of Mexico. He goes, Larry, he goes, I'll just fire him. He failed. I said, no, why? I go, 1, I know he helped kill. All my instincts tell me 3 of your attorneys, Pepe Patino, 2 other attorneys, they beat them to death with baseball bats. He gave up when they're crossing. And I said, no. I go, let's fucking put him in jail. He goes, what? I go, do it. So I worked with Mexican military intelligence. I worked with the organized crime unit and CSAN, the Mexican CIA. And we started monitoring him nonstop. It took us about 6 months to a year. And we got him arrested, he and his partner. He was in this safe house with his 25 guys. And Mexican military special forces, GAFES, which are like Green Berets for Mexican, that's what we worked with, along with the Mexican version of CIA, surrounded the place, and they wouldn't come out. They didn't want to have a gunfight. Says, hey, can you help us? So I must say that the new rack came in, and he was there, and he called in and said, hey, can you come over here? I want to meet with you. No, I'm busy. I can't. We didn't say they were surrounded. Well, how about I come get you, and then we'll just go do a meeting here. We got to go up to San Diego to do a meeting. Oh, yeah, come get me. So he comes rolling up. It was me, my partner, Al, and Alex was driving. And we learned a lesson. Armored Suburbans don't work if you don't lock the fucking doors. So all of a sudden, all these guns come out, FLFN 308s, 7.62s, surround the whole vehicle, and they open the door. Because what happened is the comandante and his number 2 are taking all the money, jump in the car, go, let's go. All Mexican special forces, about 20, 30 guys, maybe 40, surround the vehicle.
Your vehicle?
Yeah, our vehicle. And he jumps in, and they grab him out, and he goes, and Alex is going, diplomatico, diplomatico. That fucking went over. All they saw was armored car, guys sitting in a point gun at guys.
So they didn't know that you guys were coming to get him.
The bad guys did, but the we talked to the agent who was running the investigation, but he didn't tell the special forces that.
Okay.
So he comes up, he goes, no, just him and him. Leave the other guys. They're with DEA. All right. Took the guys off. He got, I think, about 10 years in prison. In Mexico, they don't get a lot of jail time. So that happened. I mean, before the new guy came, I was seizing tons of weed here, tons of weed there. Almost got one of Ariano Felix's, tons of weed there. We identified where the Ariano Felix's were at, but that corrupt comandante was selling all the information. So he got 10 years, but it took us a long time to do it. Got another huge trafficker named Chuy Labra up. I worked with Mexican intel agencies and others. I gave the addresses where he was living, and they followed him away from his house to watch his son play a game of American football in a private school in Tijuana. And they came at him. He took running across the field to get away, and they arrested him at the 50-yard line on his knees, hands in the air. I was laughing. Did that.
Well, so Larry, we talked about this, but you have won, just so the audience knows, you have won, or not won, you were awarded the DEA Administrator's Award, and you have also been awarded the Attorney General's Award, which are probably the highest level you can get at DEA and one of the highest awards you can get through, the Attorney General's office, being a DEA agent. What were those cases? What would you get those from?
The first, Administrator's Award was for this case on the Arianos.
Okay.
Is for the rest of over there, Ismael Guerrero. Through one of my sources, we identified where he's at, where he's being, and how they set up the security on them. So the Mexican Gafes went up, their version again of Green Berets, hit the house, gunfight ensues, shooting rounds back and forth. Afterwards, sources tell us he talked to the Arianos, their head of operations, and asked what he should do. And long story short, Benjamin basically says, well, you can give up or you can die. Either one's your choice. So he gave up, and the Mexican military moved his nose over to his ear when he got arrested. And he's sitting in Supermax right now. That's what that was for. But there were a couple other a lot of interesting cases. Tijuana, I lost a lot of friends, killed there, probably about 20 that I'd worked with and stuff, Mexican cops. But
that was for the Administrator Award that you were just talking about?
Yeah, that one was just the rest of him.
Okay, but what about the Attorney General Award?
The Attorney General's Award when I was in Juarez, and that was working on Chapo's Lieutenant Noel Salguero. He moved all the cocaine from southern Chihuahua state. That's when I was the agent in charge for DEA in Chihuahua, in Juarez, but the state of Chihuahua. From southern Chihuahua up across the U.S. border up to around the Denver area. I think it's Colorado Springs. From there to Chicago. We executed warrants on, it was a two-parter. First, we executed warrants on the Ariel and Marquez brothers who worked with Noel Salguero. That was a DEA thing. And we showed that they're working together, and they moved in 18 months, 1,400 keys of coke and about $250 million in cash, about $250 million. That part. Then what happened, DEA was investigating another part. It was after all this we put it together. They were doing a case called Baja Kings, and they had an impasse, and they came to us, FBI did, and said, can you help us? So I started surveilling all the loads of money coming back and forth, doing surveillance, running different intelligence aspects of it. You just have to read between the lines on that. And then at the end of it, they had arrest warrants for Noel Salguero. So I made several trips back and forth to Mexico. And this would be the second time I did that. They brought an FBI agent in from Hermosillo to help me because it was an FBI case. And I wrote the affidavits in Spanish, but the native speakers in my office fixed my grammar and the way it needs to be written. And set up the warrants to hit 16 houses simultaneously in both Tijuana and Chihuahua. I brought in 120 of the National SWAT team, all the shooters in. Part went into Juarez, part went into Chihuahua, brought them in on buses. And then I brought all the guns from the United States were flown in south in my armored Suburban and 3 armored Suburbans. And then we hit all houses simultaneously. We missed Salguero on that one. We got him later. But we got unauthorized listening posts Mexican traffickers were doing to monitor on everybody. We got a whole bunch of money. Took down, it was like out of the movie Sicario. I mean, just banging doors, and we're all running around with balaclavas on and getting it done. So we did the 16, I forget how many, but we arrested like 4 other people or 6 that had warrants, 3 to 6, I can't remember. We just missed the main guy who was Chapo's lieutenant. And we got, like I said, an unauthorized listening post. They would intercept all phone traffic in an area, and get tapes, and then they go steal the drugs from them or kill them of opposing groups. So that's what so FBI put it in because they couldn't do it on the International Investigation of the Year without me doing all the warrants for them and all the investigation on the Mexican side. I think we put out, I know the FBI agent loved him to death. I'm going to be working with him a couple of weeks on a different operation. He didn't do like I told him. He got OPR, Internal Affairs, because he spent $25,000 in cash on the operation and kept messed up receipts. I told him, don't do it this way, how to do it. FBI has no policy, so I'm going to do it how I want. Then they can just unscrew this later. Brother, I'm telling you, you can't do this. I do this all the time. You need to do it. I'm not going to do it. They need to learn a lesson. They need a policy. Dan. So I just shook my head. I was like, okay, man, I'm just telling you. So that's what that one was for.
Okay.
I mean, Tijuana, Juarez this was in the heyday of Tijuana when everything's crazy. I mean, I remember the Arianos went to this ranch. They're not them, but their employees. Little ranch between San Diego and Ensenada called Sausal. Long story short, they thought it had some marijuana. 2 families with a horse ring and the whole bit lived there, and they got in a fuck you contest with traffickers. Traffickers killed 18 people, pregnant women, identical twin babies, another 18-year-old baby. I think the identical twins might have been 8 years old, and 1 child and 1 guy who were left. So it was a big thing all over the news. So this is about 99, I think. So I just had knee surgery 98 or 99. And I mean, literally like 4 days before what's about to happen. So I'm sitting at home, ring, 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 ring on my home phone in Tijuana. I lived in Tijuana. They had just a gate guard non-gun just to die most gloriously if somebody tried to kill me, bars and stuff. And so I get this call and I go, hi, he goes, Larry, or Larry? How they say it in Spanish. Yeah, what's up? He goes, this is blank from Mexican version of U.S. Marshals. I'm Operaciones. Yeah, what you got? I don't want to tell you on the phone, but I need to meet you tomorrow. I go, so I just got knee surgery. And then he goes, I really need to meet you tomorrow at this time. So he comes up. We meet clear down by Ensenada, just north of Ensenada, the checkpoint. And so he comes up to me. He goes, okay. I go, what's going on? That's all I know. He goes, well, we're up on a wire. I'm one of the killers who killed all the women and kids, families in Sao Sol. Really? Okay. And I'm sitting there I didn't even bring my crutches, let alone pain pills, because I just thought it was going to be a 5-minute meet. And so I go, okay. And he goes, one of the killers lives up in LA. His mom and sister, we were intercepting his phone calls. They're on a bus behind me right now. My partner's following them. They're going to go all the way to Tijuana, get off the bus, walk across the border, get on another bus, and go to LA to see your son, who's one of the killers. Now my mind's going. So I'm burning up the cell phones. I've got encrypted phones given to us by those people to use, the whole bit. And so he gets in the car with me, and we're driving up, following him. And he's on the phone talking to his buddy, and they're on a big bus. That's how they're going. And so now I get marshals and DEA there. I'm getting LA online, DEA, marshals and DEA, San Diego. And so they come south of the border, and I'm walking up, limping up. The 2 agents, we pass the surveillance off to them. They get across the border. And they go, okay, I go, let's go. We're going to go to the U.S. No. We can't take our guns. We'll just leave in the car. I said, you're with me. Put in my vehicle. They're my guns till we get across the border. I said, last word I ever need is you have a gun if something turns wrong. I'm going to need you to shoot too. Now I know how they shoot. That would have been a good thing because I can't shoot with shit. I spent years later teaching Mexicans firearms for the State Department. So anyway, we haul ass in the car, get through the port of entry, driving to LA, I'm monitoring radio traffic. DEA and U.S. Marshals follow them all the way up to LA. We get on the height of task force up there to come help us. The mom and sister get off the car, get in the car, identify the guy, going all the way back and forth. They said, Larry, what to do? I'd take him off now. Burn the hands with 9 in the bush. Take him off. Yep, it's one of the killers. So we immediately take him back to the U.S. Marshal's office in L.A. at the courthouse downtown. And I go, listen, me and my team don't exist. We need prints, and I need photos, and I need a copy of all of his IDs and phone, everything. Got it. Gave it to us. So then, in fact, I was just on him with the PGR delegate, which would be like the U.S. attorney for Mexico, but assigned for the whole Southern District of California, working on the consulate, Jorge Villalobos. In fact, I just talked to him on the phone like 2 weeks ago. And so he goes, listen, got the U.S. attorney's office with me. Officially, the guys who caught him will be Immigration Service. Why? They've had some bad press. We're going to give it to them. That's what's going to be held on. But you need to get the extradition order, the PAW, provisional arrest warrant from Mexico, and their extradition order through your State Department, from you PGR, which is equal to DOJ, through Mexican State Department, which is SRE, to the U.S. State Department, back to the U.S. Attorney's Office in less than 48 hours. He goes, I won't leave my office till it's done. This case, highest priority. Gotcha. Go for it. So that was one of the Tijuana ones, and basically the same thing in Juarez when I went there. I mean, the death in Tijuana, I had him kill people that were not my informants, but they thought they were. Got them, torture them, then slit their throats and left them as a message to me. One of the tactical bases I was using.
So, Larry, the audience will know this at this point, but I've basically divided your interview into 2 parts, and I could do a third part on your contracting work as well. But let me kind of ask you some questions that I typically ask of law enforcement, which is obviously, especially, your border patrol stuff. Then you're in the middle of it in Mexico, and I know all the stuff that you did in I know a lot of stuff you did with your contracting stuff. Did being in law enforcement from the time that you started until the time that you retired, did it affect you? I mean, emotionally, did you?
I don't. Probably the person asked my wife, but I've never, other than that one time, just because the racing fuel, your body the dump. Mm-hmm. Every gunfight I've gotten since then hasn't bothered me. I don't lose any sleep.
But I'm assuming you've also seen bodies and also
gone to autopsies. I mean, I went to the autopsy of David Burham Corona, actually. Remember I told you him with the thing? So he was on an assassination attempt of the owner of Seta magazine. He got past the L when they hit him. They shot him up. He ended up living.
And can you kind of just tell the audience who that is? Just so they don't know.
Well, the owner of Seta magazine, God, I'll think of his name in a second. I'm getting old, I forget. I'm pretty good with names on people I investigate. Anyway, the Arianos put a hit on him because he was talking bad about them in Tijuana. It's a national magazine in Mexico. And so, Blanco Hernandez, I think that's his name. Anyway, so David Burham Corona was the Arianos' personal assassin, the one that was there and helped kill Chapo. Okay, so that was in '93 when they killed the Cardinal. So this will be 97, Thanksgiving in '97. So they tried to kill the owner of Seta magazine. He gets past the L, and one of the rounds from his buddies hits the vehicle, bounces off, and just the casing of the bullet. What do you call it? I'll think of the name in a second. But goes in, hits him in the eye. He had body armor on, Mossberg shotgun. Goes right in the eye, into the brain, kills him. Falls over dead. There's a photo in the front of El Norte or El Diario, dead on one knee, shotgun, the blood drained out of his head, out of his eye. So I get called. He's dead. Okay. And the FBI had a warrant for him. I'm just thinking, I did not sign the warrant for Burham Corona. I'm the one who signed the warrants for Ramon, Javier, and Benjamin Arianos, my signature on the warrant. So I had 2 FBI guys. And my partner, Tony, who never wanted to do anything. So they want us to go to the autopsy and get fingers, photos and prints. Remember, this is before digital era. So I go, you guys got the 35 millimeter, I'll take the informatics just as backup in case something fucks up. Yeah. So we go to the Tijuana morgue. Well, I've been to both morgues, Juarez and Tijuana. I've been to autopsies. Well, the Tijuana morgue did not have any ventilation. So we're outside in the office there, and the head doctor, forensics doctor, says, come with me. So I got 2 FBI agents with me. And I had like 4 or 5 comandantes from the Mexican Federal Police with me, or SSP, whatever it's called at the time, or AFI. They change names all the time. And all of a sudden, they're not with me. I don't know what the fuck they went. So I walked down through the first door. It was like, oh, God. Get through the second door. Ah, shit. Because, I think it was either second or third door in the hallway. I looked to the left. Here's a dead guy on a table. Stark naked. No rigor mortis, nothing, dead. He had been shot. One guy's holding was a guy's taking a knife, cutting open his back to take out the bullet. Okay? I looked at the end of the hallway, and you can't see the whole room, but there's all the little vaults for the dead people. Well, they didn't have enough refrigeration. So this guy dead, naked on the table, the rigor mortis, hands and legs up there, laying there, a bunch of other dead people on the table. We immediately hang a left, and here's the autopsy room. And now I found out, and there's David Burham Corona lying on a marble table and it's set where it goes over the sink, so all the blood drains the sink. And there's stainless steel tables here. There's tile on the floor. And I look up, and there's the viewing room. And there's my fucking partner, Tony, not doing this, the comandante. And I got 2 FBI agents with me. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration. Now, as you both know, we both went to the same school on printing, process crime scene. But if I want to be a death investigator, I would have gone to the fucking FBI. And here's David Burham Corona dead. He's got a sheet on him, just his head here, out dead. And, I've seen a lot of dead bodies, but this is my first into a third world morgue. So we take off the sheet. The doctor takes off, goes, have at it. Well, I don't know if so I'm taking photos of the guy, and he does have 14 black skulls with red eyes all over his body. Remember, he's not embalmed. Okay, so they took the skull cap, and they cut it here, and pulled the skull this way. So his whole forehead's broken, where they took the brain out. And then he's got like baling twine. They cut him open up the middle and then down like this, where they took out the heart and liver. So he's got baling string twine holding them together. That's what it looks like to me. So we're rolling him over, taking the photos. The more I roll him over, the more he's stinking. And I'm just going, I'm not a fucking death investigator. I'm not a fucking death investigator. And so I'm taking systematic photos. Well, they fall on the ground. So I pick them up. There's blood on the floor. So then I go to put on the steel tables, okay? And all I've got is rubber gloves on the stainless steel counters. And I'm putting it in between the blood swirls on the countertops. Fuck. And so I'm taking the photos. And I go, okay, you guys print them. We're not very good at it. Can you do it? Now the chant of, I'm not a fucking death investigator, it's just I'm pissed. So I'm taking his fingers, because we don't have the spoon to print dead people, or it's got a holder. So I'm holding the print card like this in my hand. I'm trying to print his fingers. I have to break a couple of the fingers to print him. I'm just going, God, I hate these guys. And because all they do is stand back, I had to do everything. I'm just taking the photos. I'm just going, God, I hate my job right now. Where my description? DEA agents do drugs, money laundering, even guns. But now I'm a death investigator. Well, did I know that it was going to carry over to Juarez later, even worse. So get it all printed, get done, we get out. And the FBI agents, can I have copies? I said, okay, I got all the photos. Yes, you can have copies here. I go, thank you. I go, but what do you do now? I go, well, do you have an AFIS system? Well, downtown, but that's like downtown San Diego, okay, from Tijuana. So we drive across the border. I go, let's go to the Border Patrol station. They have an automatic fingerprint system. So we go to put it in to the reader for fingerprints. Hey, Larry, what are you doing? Remember ex-Border Patrol. And I still responded to Border Patrol cases when I was in San Diego. Larry, you stink. Oh, God. Now here comes my rant again. And FBI agents are just shaking their heads. I go, I've been at the goddamn morgue in Tijuana. Just stop, okay? Just stop. And so oh, you do stink. It's like, so put it in the system. Yeah, it's David Burham. Okay, thank you. So that was my whole thing. Remember, I told you you'd come up again later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was November. It was actually Thanksgiving of 1997.
But getting back to my original question, what do you? I mean, some people it doesn't affect at all.
It doesn't affect me at all.
Do you think there's something that happened when you were growing up, or just no? That's just kind of.
I'm just a farm kid. Hunted and fished. I mean, actually, it bothers me more shooting a deer hunting than it did getting a gunfight with somebody.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't bother me. My wife doesn't have trouble. I was like, yeah. I mean, it's not something you like.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just part of the job. If you're really going to do it, I mean, just like if I became a homicide detective, you get used to it. I talked to the guy at the Tijuana morgue. I said, how do you deal with it? He goes, I've been doing this like 10, 15 years now. He's eating a sandwich. He goes, it doesn't bother me. He goes, the first week or two, it bothered me a lot, but it doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah.
And so you're like, and so that's it. None of it bothers me. That's like, none of it bothered me, the death investigator. And I had to go get myself clean because, you know, no amount of Vicks up your nose makes a difference. But I will tell you, I got him someplace. I think the photos of David Brown Corona, the Instamatics, a couple of them. And for years, I kept them on my desk, but turned upside down. You know, it's like, oh, yeah, that's disgusting. You know, I did. That's still. And years later, I was like, hey, anybody want to see this? Now it's not disgusting. And I was like, oh, heck. You know, and I've seen, don't like it. I don't have nightmares over it, but I've seen a lot of videos that the traffickers have taken through the years as they're torturing people and dismembering them while they're alive. It just cruel stuff. Like Juarez, we sent the guys out, dug up a bunch of graves. One here, 40, 50 people there. Not counting that when I got sent to Juarez, they dug up a narco graveyard in the backyard of a little house, had 13, 14 bodies. Just all this stuff.
Why do you think they do that, Larry? Just curious. Why not just kill them? Why do you have to torture them and dismember them and skin them alive and do all sorts? What's the purpose?
They have no soul. The reason they do that is just to terrorize people. But let's take
Okay, so hey, we're back from a little quick break because we've been sitting here for a while. Hey, I typically don't do this, but I wanted to let the audience know, look, there is so much more that I could talk to Larry about. There's tons more stories about Mexico. There's additional questions about, or additional stories about his contractor days that I haven't gotten to. And we've just been sitting here for at least 2 hours right now. But if anybody else is interested, if you guys are interested in hearing more from Larry, let me know. And I am more than happy to come back and chat with Larry because he is a wealth of knowledge and the stories are unbelievable. So Larry, just we're going to wrap it up a little bit. But before we do, can you give the audience a flavor of what the violence was like in Juarez when you were working there?
Okay, well, Tijuana, they were in the middle of a drug war then. Then I end up, after Tijuana, I went to the wonderful state of Arkansas for 3 years, which itself had a lot of stuff. But Juarez I hit, and the drug war was full speed rock and roll boogie. And what was that? They said that in some movie. But I was sent there. I was supposed to go someplace else because they tried to kill part of the office. So they evacuated the office and they brought me in and gave me, the administrator and I actually had a conversation. I got free hand to do what I needed to do there. And the reason I was brought in, they tried to kill a bunch of the DEA agents and they found a death house where they're torturing to death people, traffickers, to find out where their drugs and money were. And they found 13, 14 dead bodies there. It was called the Death House. Anyway, so I went in 2004 knowing that. When I came in, Juarez averaged about 300 to 400 murders a year. When I left in 2009, it was over 3,000. I think it peaked at 3,500 murders that year. And then it went from 9, 10, 11, and I think to 12. It stayed that high. Juarez and the state of Chihuahua it's in. There are 32 states in Mexico. Total murders a year when I left, there were 5,000 drug-related murders a year. and that was half of all drug-related murders in the whole country of Mexico occurred in the state of Chihuahua, and Juarez was what, a little over 30% of that. So the murders were just crazy. I mean, we dug up one body, just one narco graveyard. All that was left in the skeleton was, he had a plastic bag over his head, was the elastic on the underwear that he'd had on was left, the cotton was gone, and he had baling twine embedded in his shins by about a half an inch below his knees. Imagine how painful that is. For me, it doesn't leave a mark on me, but you're asking if any of this bothers me. It doesn't affect my family. I mean, it does affect me, which I don't have bleed over. My wife understands. We met when I was actually in Juarez, and we got married. Took us about 5 years to start dating, then we got married. But she was with me when I was in Afghanistan for 4.5 years straight, only coming home every 2 weeks for every 6 months. So she went through that, and the same thing. I don't know if you can ever get used to it. You get used to it, but you don't like it.
Yeah.
Is probably the best way to explain it, at least for me. My wife's pretty strong. She understands. I mean, I had a couple interesting times in Afghanistan, and she went through it, no problem. But, plus I got corona there, which that sucked. but actually, the corona isn't as bad as the shot. The shot was worse.
All right, fair enough. Larry, I can't thank you enough for chatting with me. Obviously, the stories are unbelievable, and I know you have tons more. But we're just going to kind of leave it at that. I'm going to make 2 episodes out of this, and like I said, audience, if you want to hear more from Larry, let me know. I'm more than happy to come back up and chat with him. Thank you very much.
Yep.